Hey everyone, Sycra here, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to draw the male torso from the front. So let's start with the proportions. So I'm going to just start with, this is going to be the top of the head and this is going to be the bottom of the crotch, and we're going to divide it into 4 equal segments. So just go halfway, make a mark, and then between those halfway, between those halfway. Now this is actually something you should be able to do quickly. So if this is difficult for you, and I'm serious, I'm not like just saying like, oh, you know, waste your time or something, but really just spend time doing this, you know, find the top and the bottom of a thing, halfway, halfway, halfway. You should be able to do that pretty quickly. Do 20 of them if you're not comfortable with them, just 20. And then by the time you've done your 20th, you'll probably be decent with it. But anyway, so now we've got our thing divided into 4 segments. So the first is going to be the head. So let's just get in head shape. There we go. So now the second head is going to be roughly where the nipples are. Third is going to be roughly where the belly button is, and then the fourth is going to be the crotch. Now, there's a couple of other measurements I want to take, and one is the pit of the neck. And how do we find that? Well, if you divide the head in 2, so you've got equal proportions, you know, 1/2, 1/2. This is where the eyes are going to be. You probably already have heard that before. The eyes are halfway down the head. And then divide it in half again, and that's where the nose is going to be. So there, that's where the nose is. So then take this measurement from the top of the head to the bottom of the nose, and then double it. So take this and double it, and this is where the pit of the neck is going to start. So I know with these measurements they're going to seem kind of hard at first if you're not used to measuring things and getting proportions. Again, it's like this thing with the divide it into half and then, you know, get fast at it. It's something that you want to do this a few times. So even just the point I've said just now, if that is difficult for you or new to you, if you don't know, for instance, the eyes are halfway down the head, okay, draw heads, just ovals, basic ovals, and find the halfway point, and then split it, just that. See, that's all you have to do, but do it a bunch of times until it becomes easy for you. Because if you're getting stuck on little things like this, then it's going to be hard to remember all these other things. If it's hard for you to make a measurement and then double that, then you're going to want to practice that, right? So just do the basics until they're easy and then move on. So anyway, sorry, getting back to the lesson. So here's where the neck is. Again, it's just from the top of the head to the bottom of the nose, double that, and you've got the pit of the neck. Now, where the pit of the neck is also going to be where the collarbones are. So we can just make a line indicating the collarbones. Now the width is going to be roughly, and this can change quite a bit from person to person, but let's just say we're going to make it about three heads wide. So 1, 2, 3. All right. So that's our width. And now the collarbones on men sort of go up. They actually, it's not just that they go up, they have this like strange shape where, let's say this is the sternum. They go like this way and then they go backwards. And then they come like that. Like, it's a weird shape. So if you looked down at the collarbones, so this is going to be the head, this is the nose, ears, then it would come like this, like that shape is the collarbone shape. So anyway, All right, so get the head, collarbones, and again, here we said here's where the nipples are going to be, and then we have the belly button here, and now there's another measurement between the belly button and the crotch. Divide that in two, and this is going to be where the iliac crest is, which is the pelvis, right? You have your pelvis. It's got this kind of shape. Actually goes up higher and then comes around, and anyway, so you can feel this, like, for women too, because the good thing about drawing a male torso is a lot of the anatomy also applies to women with slight variations, but you can feel this bone right here. So this is an important point because you're going to have these bones, and then you have the rib cage, right? So the rib cage is going to fit in the man. It's going to be a bit more open than the woman, and it's going to fit in this area. So pretty much these two heads is going to be rib cage, and then it's this shape. It's like it's wider on the bottom. I guess I could simplify it like this. It's narrow on the top. The neck comes out of here, and then you've got this shape. And then if you divide it in two, that's where the sternum is going to stop, and it's going to go outwards. So you get the bones going down and then around, down and around, down and around the ribs. And there's not just this many, so there's more than that. Anyway, okay, back to what I was saying. Right, so you have the ribs, right? And then you have this bone, and the obliques are going to fit within here. And then you get this shape, like a V, and not on all men, but on like really fit men, you can see this V shape around here, and then you'd have the legs coming down, doing their own thing, whatever. We're not going to worry about that. And now, going back up to the top, I'm going to put where the ends of the humerus are, which is the big arm bone, and then you have the rest of the arm. Now the elbow, sorry, it's going to be roughly at the same height as the navel, but anyway, this isn't an arm tutorial, so yeah, but anyway, yeah, it is, and then double that, and that's how long the arm is. So, you know, this distance, same as that distance. So there, those are the major landmarks we need, and then we can add on top of that. Alright, maybe I made the ribs a bit too wide, and this part too. Just narrow that. Anyway, so let's just lower the opacity of that. And now I want to start on the pectoralis muscle, or the pecs, or the chest muscle. So first thing is, we have the collarbones here, right? So the collarbones come around, as I said, they sort of go up, or they go across and then up, and then they connect or there's a connection here where the humerus, which is the arm bone, connects to the collarbones, and also the scapula from behind. Now, collarbone's really important when dealing with the chest, and the deltoids also connect to the collarbone and the pec muscle. So halfway from here to here, that's where the pecs are pretty much going to start. And if I zoom in, and they're going to end pretty much just below the nipple here, so they're going to be occupying this space. But I'm going to zoom into one individual pec muscle. And what happens is, let's say this is the collarbone, then the pecs, they go this way, and you have your arm bone here, and they connect to the arm bone, and you have the fibers running in this direction. And then you have the whole middle part, right? And this continues to go that way, and then underneath they start to go up. So you have this pattern where you go this way, and then these fibers start to go up. Now this is, and it's all connecting to the same place. This is when the arm is down. If the arm was up, then what would happen is the collarbone goes up. Now because the pecs are connected to the collarbone, so let's say the arm was doing that, pecs are connected, so they still start from the same place and go to the same place, right? That's not going to change. So then you're going to get that sort of thing happening. But let's do it with the arm down for now. And so again, halfway, and you have these muscle fibers going towards this point at the humerus, and then switching. So this is the shape we get. It's let's use a different color. Sort of this shape for the chest muscle when the arms are down. Now, the other thing is, at this point, and this point is, you know, maybe from the collarbones down to the nipple, maybe it's halfway is where you get like the crease of where this pec muscle inserts, and maybe I'll deal with that later. But so you have the pec coming halfway. Now if you divided the collarbone into thirds, so 1, 2, 3, the deltoid sort of occupies the latter half, or the latter third of this. So near this end is where the deltoid starts. So because of this, we have the deltoid connecting here at this part of the collarbone, and then the pecs connecting here, and you get a little gap right here in between the deltoid and the pecs. So again, if I look at this one, let's do a third, and the deltoids come here, goes around, and this is going in this direction now. So everything is pulling downwards, and then right here you have that gap. And sometimes that's visible. It's not going to be visible as a whole, of course, but it is an indication of the planes changing. So often you'll get sort of, you'll see it more in shading, where you'll get maybe the deltoid shaded like that, the pec is shaded like that, and then there'll be an absence of shading, or maybe a darker or lighter tone in that region. That's what's going on. And you could feel it too if you're a man. I guess maybe for women too. I'm not sure on that one, but yeah, just I guess write in the comments and let me know if you're a woman, if you can feel that sort of what would you call it, space between the pectoralis and deltoid connection. Anyway, so let's do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to go about halfway between these two and find where it connects. And I'm going to, this time I'm going to do it a bit, instead of starting at the top and going down, which is fine, I'm just going to start down and then go across, and then we still can do the same thing. Now, the chest muscle doesn't connect like all the muscly parts. There's actually still the sternum in between. So when you get chest muscles on guys that are very, like the muscles are really developed, it's not often like that, where the chest muscles are just doing that. I mean, you could get like that, but often what happens is it's more a case of you have the sternum in the middle, and then you have the chest muscles going out on either side, and then you have this bony part in between. So, and then as the muscles get more developed, you know, they get bigger, so of course that encroaches on this territory. But even for really muscular guys, you often still get the sternum. Where you don't see that is maybe if you're really fat, might get filled in. But anyway, so we have this part, pecs coming down, connecting here. Then we have the deltoid. Now, I know I said this isn't an arm tutorial, and it's not, but I like to think, when I think of the chest, I include the deltoid, and you can see why. Because you get this sort of shape. You could almost think of it as one thing. And if the arm moves up, then, like, we raise the collarbone, the arm's doing that, the chest is going to go up. And that wasn't exactly right, so the arm is here. I'm going to use an arc, track that movement. Collarbone is going to be around here, so the arm's actually here. So what's going to happen is the chest is going to move up, but the deltoid is also going to follow. So you get something like this, where the deltoid and the pectoralis, they have a very friendly relationship. They're good buddies, and just like to hang out. Wherever one goes, the other one tends to follow. So yeah, we got the deltoid, and the deltoid goes all the way around here, connects to the scapula in the back. So now we have these two, and let's just go up now. So I mentioned this is where the pit of the neck is. Now you've got two muscles, two huge muscles, or big muscles anyway, in the neck, and that's a sternocleidomastoid, and they come around like this, and they connect to the pit of the neck and also to the clavicle. And I'm not going to go into too much detail into them, but pretty much that's it. So remember, these two muscles, they're coming around like this, and then they connect to the clavicle here and in between here. So there's that. And then you've got the trapezius. Now the trapezius is actually a back muscle. So if this is the head from behind, and this is the back of the skull, it's the front, chin, jaw, this is going to be the ear, and maybe the other ear might show up a bit that side. But anyway, the trapezius connects to the back of the neck like so, and then it comes all the way around, and you have like a space here where you have the 7th cervical vertebra, and then so you have the spine coming around here, and then comes around like this, and the deltoid comes underneath, starts from behind, starts underneath like that, and it goes around as we said. But anyway, so it's this shape, and what's important is to remember that it goes like this. Like this is really important. I want to stress that to you. It is not this. So how can I make it more clear? Let's see. What I'm trying to say is it is this shape. See how we have it sloping, goes up, comes down. It is not this shape. Okay? And actually, on the human body, you don't have any concave shapes. Like, you don't have shapes that do this, right? So let's say there's the arm, right? And we have like the deltoid, triceps and everything. Now, in simplification, it's okay to do, but when you're learning, it doesn't help to think this way. But anyway, so we have all these shapes. But what a beginner might see is they might see this and they see it like go like this, and then it goes like that, and then it goes like that, and then it goes like that, and then it goes like that. See this part? They might view that as concave, and there's a concave, but it's not. It's two convexes. It's this, and then even here, it's this going down, and then this going that way, right? So it's always two convexes butting up against each other. It's not that way and then in and then out. That doesn't happen. The only time it does happen is with bones. Like, yeah, there are convex points in bones, but as far as muscles are concerned, no, because they're on top, right? Like if you have a bone here, even if the bone was concave, like it's that shape, well, you'd have muscles on top, so it's going to become always convex. So going back here, that's what I'm trying to say, is that this is convex, right? And even if it's not developed, it's going to be like this. It's going to be lower, but it's not going to be concave. So now, because we have this shape, let's translate it over. So what's going to happen, what I do is I don't draw the trapezius like this, right? Like I don't just fill in this like this and like this. What I do is I actually start in the back of the neck, see? Because this is where it comes from. Start in the back of the neck. Now I'm not drawing it on this, but I'm hovering over the back of the neck. And then I come around as if it's just this from behind, and then I start to put it in. And again, it connects at the clavicle. So this point is important because it's like, okay, well, that's in the middle of the deltoid. And then you have the chest connecting to the clavicle. You have the trapezius coming around and down. So I'm going to do this back one. And I'm just going to draw it as I'm thinking of it. I start like this, come around like that. So that's how I'm thinking it, but I just draw it like that. So that's important. And then to understand the form of the trapezius. It's very complicated, so you know, I can't go into everything, and I'm not going to be able to cover everything, so I'm just going to try and cover the main points in this. But yeah, that's the trapezius, so that comes down next. So again, you're going to have to practice this in order to memorize it. Okay, so we've got deltoid, we've got the pecs. Now you have the bicep coming down, and again, this isn't an arm tutorial, but I just need to indicate where the biceps go, because then you have another muscle which is big, and it comes from behind, and that's the lats, the latissimus dorsi. And that comes around from behind, and you see it, not in all guys, but when it's developed you do, and those are like the wing muscles, right? So if your arms, say this rib, if your arms are stretched out, you get the deltoid going up, trapezius is going to get bunched up, you get the neck, and then you have the lats, and they connect up like that, and then you have the pec muscles, right? So you get this going on with the arm here. So you could sort of think of it almost like you have some drapery where this goes over and this comes under, sort of like so, where it goes like this, goes over this, and this goes that way, right? So this is the lats. Now, it's really important to understand that the lats are behind, because you want to make sure the arm is coming in front, right? So the pecs overlap the biceps, but then the biceps overlap the lats. And now here you have the ribs. So we get our ribs in, but then we've got our obliques here. And the obliques fill in this space, as we mentioned before. So for the most part, this is it. There's a few minor things that I haven't touched on, which I will just now. But for the most part, these are the major forms. Now you're going to have, of course, the abs. And again, depending on how developed your figure that you're drawing is, these will show more or less or not at all. But basically you have the navel here, right? Above the navel, you'll have two abs. So they actually have a pattern to them where at the navel, the line of the abs is sort of like this, straight across. But then as it goes up, it sort of curves. So it's more like that. So you get like that kind of pattern. I personally don't like the aesthetic of that, so I just ignore it. It seems like you can get away with a lot with the abs. So anyway, so what you're going to have is you'll have the abs here. Another set of abs here. And then here you get one last set going down. Gives you your six-pack. You also have a space in between the pecs and the abs. So if these are getting developed, you can also see a bit of separation between these two. So it's almost like 8-pack. Then if you have a strong definition here, it can be like a 10-pack almost. But yeah, that's pushing it. Anyway, so okay, so we have our abs now, and then we have the serratus muscles. Now, the serratus muscles are the superhero muscles, and what's really important to remember about these muscles is that they hug on the ribs. So these are rib muscles. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because too often what will happen is people will draw these muscles and let's say they just forget, maybe they haven't practiced anatomy or whatever, so they've got their figure and that's his shape. Let's give him a nice face. All right. And they'll do the serratus muscles coming around like that. And anyway, so they have them coming all the way around from here, but they don't. Because, as I mentioned, they hug the ribs. So they actually just stay on the ribs. And the way I like to do the serratus muscles is, let me just highlight the rib cage. I'll use purple. So let's say this is the rib cage, right? Now, of course, the serratus are going to be on top of the rib cage, so it's going to be over this. It's not just going to go here and stop. It's actually going to go over that form. But we have the rib cage here, and then we're going to have, see how it ends here, right? So because the serratus hug the ribs, this is where they stop. They're not going to keep going all the way down here. So what you can do, and what I like to do, is just sort of give some space here, like a, almost like a border, right? For here, for where the muscles will go. So I make my border, and then I divide it into 4. So I'm gonna do that on a different page so it's more visible. So let's zoom in again. So here's the rib cage. Here's it going off in that direction. Then we have our lats. And so here's the pec muscles. So what I do is I create the border, and then with the serratus I come around and I make 4 segments. Now there's not just 4 serratus muscles. Actually, it goes all following the rib cage, and even on the back you have the serratus muscles going all the way around. So, but there's usually 4, not usually because it depends again on how developed you are, but 4 segments that are visible. And then they have this type of thing where they're almost like, I mean, this is why they're called serratus muscles. Sorry if I call it serratus. Either one, but serratus I think is how you should think of it, because it's like a serrated edge, right? Like if you had a knife with a serrated edge, it would look like that, right? Like a saw. So you have that, and then you have the obliques, and the obliques are pretty big, but they connect, they interlock like that. So that's why you get this shape. It goes around, then it looks like it comes down. So this right now, serratus, 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 obliques, obliques, obliques. All right, so let's go back to this. So the thing with the obliques though is they're pretty big and they're sort of divided into 2 areas. So let me just highlight those 2 areas. You have this part that's interlocking with the serratus here. And then you also have this part. And the obliques, they go all the way around. So it's going around here, and you'd see on the back view, you'd have your obliques coming around like that. And for this part of the obliques, they tend to get more fat near the bottom. So you actually get this kind of shape. And depending on how fat you are, this just grows, right? Okay, so let's just do a couple more. And the point of this is to memorize it to the point that you don't actually need it. You don't want to be drawing with all these, 4 segments and things. You just want to get it so you can sort of eyeball it. So start with the head. Now we know halfway is the eyes, split that, nose, duplicate that distance, pit of the neck. It's going to be the nipples. This is going to be the collarbone, and the width is roughly 2 heads. You don't have to be exact. The arms are going to come down. There's going to be a rib cage in here. It's roughly going to go to about the navel, and then half of this is going to be that V shape for the pelvis, and this is actually angled a bit down. But yeah, so you're going to get that. So there we go. That's our basic structure. So, once you get fast at that, you can just sort of eyeball things where it's like, okay, I know the neck's going to be about here. It's going to be arms coming down. These are sort of slightly curved, the collarbone, so I just simplify it like that. Then I can just often just simplify it, like get this V shape that forms. And let's just put in the muscles, and then we can see where that V shape comes from. So if this is where the nipples are, a little bit lower is going to be the pecs. Bring those up. Remember that we have the deltoid, that comes down. Get a crease here, other deltoid, arms, back. Get your lats coming around, and they stop at the ribs there, and you have your obliques. Okay, so what are we missing? Missing trapezius. Get that in. And then, I mean, if you want, you can get in the serratus. And just sketch in where those abs would go. Navel. And bring it down like that. So that's it. Eventually you get pretty fast. But see, here's that V. Is basically I'm just going from, let me do that again, going from the ends of the collarbone, and I'm going down to this point in between the crotch, and it sort of gives you this V shape, right? So sometimes instead of seeing things in terms of just the muscles themselves, you can start to see abstract shapes. You can see that V, and the deltoid. Start to see that. So yeah, so here we can get that V shape, and then often the way I draw now is I'll get the head, get that V. So here's where the crotch is going to be, get the pelvis, the rib cage, and then between that get the pelvis. There we go. And then I can build off there. Pecs, deltoid, trapezius, and neck. And this is just when I'm sketching quickly. And then get your obliques. Now the obliques and the rib cage, so far we've just been filling in this distance based on measurements. You can also think of it as you can fit one fist in between the obliques and the bottom of the ribs. So either way you want to think of it, whatever makes it easy for you. But yeah, get that. And then that's it. So let's do one where the arms are raised. So get the head in, rib cage, collarbones. Collarbones are going to go up because the arm, or let's have this arm go up and this go just like across. So don't know what the pose is, but he's doing that. And okay, so got the ribs, one arm in between, or one hand, one fist in between the ribs and the pelvis. And there we go. And maybe he's bending his head looking up. So now what's going to happen is this is the collarbone going up, and the deltoid starts at the collarbone, arm goes up, deltoid is going here, and when the arm is down, this is important, let's get a figure, when the arm is down like that, then make sure the deltoid, like if this is a collarbone, right, make sure the deltoid is below this, right? You don't want to do this for the deltoid. Like I see this too often where people sort of, first of all, they make it too round. Second of all, it sort of goes over, but it doesn't, because it can be developed to the point that it obscures this collarbone, the end, but it's not going to go like way over it. And you have, it's the trapezius that is creating this bump, not the deltoid. Deltoid comes down like that, right? So yeah, got to remember that. So in this case, we get the neck, and then trapezius coming down. It's going to bunch up because it's it's been squeezed. The deltoid's pushing against it. In this case, we got it squeezed like so. It's because it's coming from behind the neck. It's coming around. It's getting squeezed in there. Okay, so we have the deltoid here, and then remember how the pecs and the deltoid have that relationship. So what I do is tend to just do it like this, where this is almost just connected, because I know that's sort of how it connects. Like from the front, we have the trapezius coming here, and we have the deltoid. And it connects to the collarbone, but then so does the pectoralis, so then you get this shape. So these can also be seen as just one shape. I mean, if you want, you can think of it that way. It's almost like, yeah, that's just one thing. So okay, now we'll have the underside. This is actually the trapezius now. On this side, probably, what am I saying? Triceps. this side we'd see the bicep, but this side, because we're looking underneath, we'd actually be looking at the triceps. You have the pecs coming down. Here's the ribs still here. So you would have the lats coming from behind. And the lats going like that. And ribs stopping and the obliques filling in that gap. Right? And then you would get, in this case, remember that the ribs also expand, right? So they can be, like when you breathe in, the ribs are going to be bigger. This is an exaggeration, but they're going to be bigger than when they're, you know, at rest or not filled with air. I mean, the lungs aren't filled with air. So ribs are going to expand, but in a situation like this, you really would see, on a developed body anyway, you would see the serratus quite a bit in a case like this. So we could actually exaggerate that a bit. Just want to erase this a bit more because it's probably going to connect more like that. Ribs coming, I mean the pecs coming around and deltoid behind, and this space you have like the pecs here and the lats here and then the arm coming in here, and this space is the armpit, and because you have skin, sort of just gets filled in. But anyway, so we have that. We have the serratus on this side, and then get the ab muscles. And 1, 2, 3. Below the second ab muscles where the navel goes, and then you get these, and you have this V, and then the legs. So now, of course, that's what it's going to, maybe like all the anatomy is there, but it's not going to be that extreme. If you actually drew it, you wouldn't necessarily, I mean, if you're doing like comics, then maybe you'd include all that, but let's say you're not, then you could actually just tone it down quite a bit. Now I'll just show. So you would definitely, you'd see the outline, so we can keep the outline pretty much identical. And here we go. So then what would you see? Well, you would definitely probably see points here and here where the collarbones are. You would see the neck. And I'm using fading lines. Like, notice I didn't just do like a line straight down, sort of let it fade off. So it doesn't necessarily connect to this point, but it suggests that there's a muscle here, and you could use shading to your advantage here to indicate where these things are. Now there's also going to be a gap in between those two pecs, so we can include that. And actually, you tend to focus more on the definition here on this side of the pectoralis than on this middle area. And it's similar to the breasts in women, where you wouldn't get the cleavage unless, for instance, if the arms are pushed towards each other, then yeah, even in a man you're going to see some cleavage there, where the muscles are going to press up against each other. But in this case, probably not. See the collarbone a bit. You would definitely see an indent where the deltoid and trapezius are touching. you'd have this going up, and you would see this probably tucking under, and then usually things get obscured in here. Like, you don't clearly see all the connections with the lats, but you see more this muscle, like the bicep going in and connecting, but you also see this coming over, and so that's why this can get fuzzy. The way I like to think of it is just to remember that this comes around, then it sort of flattens out, and then you've got like a space, a hollow in here. So I think of this more like a flat plane, and then this deltoid goes around like that. And then this is coming around like that. And this is also useful to do and this would actually be rounded because you've got the triceps here. But yeah, this is also a good exercise, is to sort of draw over the form like a wireframe. See if you can do that. See how that would go. And then the pecs are pretty flat, so you would flatten out around here, but they've also got some thickness to them. But anyway, this is sort of not what I was intending to do, so let's just leave that for now and get back to this. So what would you see? You'd probably see a bit of separation here where the lats meet the ribs, and then maybe you'd see on this side a couple of serratus, and I'm using like strokes like that. It's called hatching to indicate the serratus, because I don't want to make it like that where it's really defined. You could do a thing which is to like do that but then sort of fade off, and that's what happens a lot in comic books. They'll get like a defined line and then sort of use hatching to fade it off. But anyway, so you'll get that, and just indicate some of the ribs. Definitely you could see the navel, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Get the nipples, which are 2 heads down, so somewhere around here, and this one would move up more. Yeah, so something like that. That's all you need to show. And then it depends on where the light's coming from, where you'd add shading. Maybe, you know, if the light's coming towards or from like this side, then of course this is all going to be in shadow. A lot of this will be in shadow, and some would be in shadow here. So anyway, I think that covers most of the torso. I'm not going to go into the different body types just because I don't think I think it's too much for just one video to go into all that. There's still so much more. I haven't covered the torso from different angles. That too would probably require its own video because it's pretty complicated. From what you can see, you know, it's not simple, and that's why I recommend really practicing. You want to practice this stuff. You don't want to think that if you can't do it, it's because you don't have talent, or you don't, I don't know, you're just not able to and other people can. Because no, it's really a case of don't just do this once. You're gonna have to do this many times before you get it. But once you get it, it starts to become easy, and then you can sort of just, you know, you sort of start seeing it in your head. You don't need to draw all the guides. You just sort of get an idea of where these things connect. Had the connection of the deltoid wasn't quite right. And yeah, I mean, it's easy to forget little things. So, I mean, if you make mistakes, don't worry about it, because I still make anatomy mistakes, and I'm still studying all the time to learn, you know, where things go and how the body works. So the important thing is don't get discouraged, and if you're watching this with the intention of learning, make sure you're doing not just one but multiple measurements and studies of this stuff, because yeah, you'll get it, but you got to put in the work. All right, hope that helped, and thanks for watching.